There we go. Okay. I'm live on YouTube and Facebook right now. This is one of my regularly scheduled lives, so welcome. This one is an hour and a half. I do a half hour. Well, I'm on YouTube for the whole hour and a half. And then I go a half hour Facebook, a half hour on Instagram, and a half hour on TikTok. Facebook's my smallest platform. Then my middle one is Instagram. My big one is TikTok. But they're all about as busy as each other now with the lives. So this used to be the slowest one. I've only been on here for a few months, but it's picked up. So now these lives are just as busy as the other two. So I don't get to all the questions. And what you'll also see if you're new here, you'll see me scroll a lot because I scroll through all the questions that I can't answer because I want to make sure that I'm answering questions that people are still here. So I'll tend to answer the most recent questions. So when I finish a question, I'll often go to the most recent one after I finish answering one. Did that make any sense? Anyway, if you're new here, my name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course. You can still get in on those group coaching sessions on Saturday with the boot camp course. And you can look into coaching. I can't take everyone on these days, but you can look into coaching. If you want to work with me, send me an email. Tell me why you want to work with me, ages of your kids, etc. Because I like to mix. Sometimes I like to mix up all the ages. So I'm not just working with teenagers or just working with parents of toddlers. You know what I mean? Anyway, let's get going with your parenting questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. I had a busy day today. I had lunch with my son today. It was lovely. Nothing like seeing your kids. He's a dad now, so I don't see him very often. Even if I'm around him, all I see is his baby now because you walk in the door. Where is she? Where is she? So yeah, typical grandmother. Okay. So I'm just waiting for your questions. If you're on YouTube, you can I got a couple of people on YouTube. You can ask questions on there too. Generally, I tend to answer the YouTube questions when I'm transferring from the other platforms because I've got that sort of dead time in between. And I have to look at a different screen for my YouTube questions. And that's my smallest live is the YouTube one. But that's where I save all these lives. Okay, so just waiting for your questions. If you're new here, welcome. I've been doing these lives now for 2 years, but I've only been on Facebook now for maybe 5 months, maybe 4 or 5 months. So yeah, a lot of people on Facebook have not seen me for 2 years, like the TikTok people have seen me doing the lives for 2 years. The biggest live I ever had, it was 26,000 people turned up to one live, and I was brand new at doing lives. And I figured someone told me what happened was someone really big on TikTok shared it and say, come on, join this live, and who has a huge following. And they never did it again. So I guess they weren't that impressed with me. But yeah, that was a lot of questions firing at me. And I was brand new at doing this too. And I went into panic mode when I saw how many people were watching. It was funny. Yeah, I don't get that number anymore. I get like maybe 100, 150 usually. Okay, so no questions yet? As soon as I say that, people usually start asking questions. I'm just waiting for your parenting questions. If not, I haven't got any yet, so I'll just read a couple things out. These are my top 5 tips. Oh, I got one, but I'll read this out anyway. My top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is when you want to connect with a toddler. To me, a toddler is under 3. When you want to connect with a toddler, you do so in their world. Watch how they play and join in. Don't take them to the nail salon. Go to the park and roll down the hill with them. Get silly with them. They look at you differently when you enter their world. Number 4 is kind of similar. When you want to discipline a toddler, you do so in their world. They're not words. They are actions. They're not words. You use consistent corrective actions. They hit with a toy, you say no, and you put that toy away. It's the action. I say the word no just to show that I'm coming in for a consequence. And then the last one is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. They're going to do all sorts of crazy stuff before they're done. They might even go like this and smear poop on the wall. Okay? Try and make sense out of that. Okay, so this is from Erica Hatley. My kids are 2.5 and almost 4. They tend to gang up. The behavior board is fantastic, but it's just typical for 2 to be harder than just 1. Just keep at it. Just keep at it. Typical for 2 to be harder than just 1. You mean 2 behavior boards to be harder than just 1? I don't know what you mean. By the way, the behavior board starts at the age of 3. So you've only got 1 kid on there right now because the younger one's watching what you do with the older kid. So yeah, you just keep at it. You don't master the first board. Well, you've only failed at the board. If the kids keep breaking the rules, that's not failing at the board. Failure is when you don't make it happen. So you don't have the consequence. You don't do the consequences with the kids, or you know what I'm saying? Just follow the board. Then you've got 2 of them. By week 2, you do 2 boards. Week 3, now you've got 3 boards. Then you don't go past that. So you've got 1, 2, 3 boards up after 3 weeks, and you just stay consistent and calm. Yeah, that's the free behavior board if you're interested. If you work with me coaching, or if you get the boot camp course, there's a week 4 and a week 5, and that's off the board. So we don't use the boards after that. That's because the boards are just a teaching tool, teaching you how to do this, teaching you how to make kids accountable, because there's a rule and a consequence, and you're on there too. That's what makes it work. I teach leadership parenting. Leaders are accountable. The old-fashioned authority style parenting, they're not accountable. My way or the highway, you do what I say, so yeah. The authority style parent is not accountable to their children. No, it's not a bad way to parent. It's a far better way to parent than the pleaser parent style that's so trendy right now, which is a total disaster. It raises self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. That's why there's so many victims out there in the world right now. All this woke victim culture. That's the pleaser parent style. That's the result of the pleaser parent style. Ooh, I hope I get some kickback on that one. I'm ready to argue that one. Yeah, I really believe that's what it came from. Okay. I don't get a lot of pushback anymore, but I like it when I do. How can you help a friend parent? Yeah, I never would tell a friend how to parent. Yeah, I've never done it. I won't tell my kids how to parent either. So yeah, I would just, yeah. They ask your advice, you can send them to me. Say, you're wondering how to handle a tantrum? Maybe go check out this woman or someone else, whatever. But yeah, I would stay out of that. How do you handle all the why questions? My 4-year-old's always asking why, and I've run out of ideas. They generally ask why when they're trying to change your no to a yes. So I would just say, I don't know. And then I just go about my business and do my chores or whatever you're doing. So yeah, just shut it down. And then if they keep at you, say, I won't be answering that. Okay, don't keep at me. So they usually, but why can't I? They're trying to get your no to turn into a yes. They're trying to manipulate you. That's all. So yeah, I would just go, whatever. And then, or I've already answered you. That's it, no more. And then stop talking about it. Don't stop answering it. You don't have to answer everything they say. It's a big fallacy out there. You have to validate all their words, all their feelings, all their emotions. People who say that usually yell a lot too. They lose it because it doesn't work. So yeah, you don't need to validate everything. Oops, I'm going to scroll ahead because I got a lot of questions that just came in, and people come and go, and I like to make sure that people are here when I answer their questions. I love asked and answered for why or related questions. Yeah, asked and answered if they're old enough to understand that. Yeah, I just say I already answered that. And yeah, same thing. It's like done. I'm washing my hands of that. I'm going to mention something. I just worked with a client, and she's doing phenomenal. What she's done really well is when the kids come at her, let's say that she has something on the behavior board and they come at her, let's say, as an example. So they're mad about it and they get all mad. She does not react at all. And she's timing down. Let's say you've got 10 minutes to do a chore or whatever. And when they keep coming at her and they're saying some mean stuff, right? And I'll tell you what I call that anyway. So they're coming at her and she's just going, okay, you got 5 more minutes. She just stays on task, stays calm, and it's working. She's doing really, really well. So yeah, don't get pulled into all that stuff. When they are mad at you and they don't like whatever they have to do and they start yelling at you, they often can get verbally abusive too. It's like, a monkey, when they get mad, they throw feces. It's like that. They're just throwing feces at you. They're just trying to get a rise out of you. So yeah, just think of it that way. If your kids are coming, I hate you just because you said no to something, just think they're just a monkey throwing feces at you. I don't think I'll be shut down for saying that word. But anyway, does that make sense? Yeah, they're just timekeeper. Love it. That's all you're doing. 5 more minutes. I hate you. 2 more minutes. And her kids are doing it. Like once they realize she's not gonna bite, she's not gonna get into that argument, and they're doing it. Yeah, she's doing really well. How to address a 3-year-old lying? That's easy. Get the behavior board and put no lying on the behavior board. That's it. How do you catch them in a lie? This is what you do. You say, okay, so what happened? And you get get a paper and a pen. So get pen and paper and say, so what happened? And write down, take notes, like you're a detective taking notes. You're interviewing this criminal, right? So you say, oh, so what happened? And then an hour later, ask it again. If they're lying, they'll change the story. They always try and improve it. She's little, she'll change the story, or he's little. So yeah, if a 3-year-old's lying, they're going to change the story every time. When they get older, they might not. They might embellish things, but the truth never changes. So yeah, and then say, okay, so that was a lie. Oh no, I wasn't lying. I've decided it's a lie. So there's the consequence for that. And you said, I did not get my behavior board. It takes about 20 minutes to arrive. And it's just 2 attachments at the bottom of the email that I send to you after you sign up for the newsletter. So I actually don't even answer those emails because I know that it just takes 20 minutes. People, because I'm like that. If I don't get something right away, I'm like, I didn't get my because we expect everything to be quick, but I've got like a third-party delivery system with those. It's just the way I've got it set up. It works best for me. It takes about 20 minutes to arrive. If you're still not getting it after like an hour, then you can send me an email. Everyone that's happened to, it's been because they put in the wrong email. Every single person that's happened to, it's because they put in .con or something like that when they signed up. So then I'll look into it. How do you recommend handling it when kids start demanding you play with them all the time? I would say, okay, so we're going to play now, and I'm going to play for 30 minutes. Set the timer. Then say, okay, 5 more minutes of play. And then when the timer goes off, say, okay, I got to go do my mom stuff now, my chores or whatever. So yeah, set a precedent beforehand, set an expectation ahead of time. Look like you're organized. It would be like in school. If they, when the alarm goes, then the kids know you go inside after recess. They just understand that because they understand it's coming up. If you just said, okay, go outside and play now, and you didn't tell them ahead of time, or if they didn't understand that there's going to be a bell that they have to come in with, you see, you got to set a precedent. You got to set an expectation. So yeah, get organized with that and say, we're going to play for 30 minutes. This is only if they have problems with this, right? If they don't bother you doing that. But yeah, like I used to say to my kids, okay, that was fun playing now. Scram, mom needs some mom time. And they'd go happily running off because I played with them a lot. So, but they knew I wasn't going to be juggling for them all day long. I wasn't there to entertain my kids 24/7. I played with them a lot. But then when I said scram, so my mother would have said scram. Okay, and I did because they were already getting enough love and attention anyway. Oh, no, this isn't what I recommend for this. This is Mark Bentima. How do I get my nearly 4-year-old to stop saying no and then running down the driveway? Okay, and then you said he did this tonight in the rain, tried to follow your directions, calmly walked after him and brought him inside, and then made him do a chore, chatted about the day during it. Okay, that part was good. So you didn't chat about what he did wrong. But yeah, if that's a dangerous thing, I wouldn't calmly walk towards him. I'd be taken off after him and I'd grab him. And I'd say, from now on, you're going to be on a leash. When you go in the front yard, you're going to be on a leash until you learn. If next time you try and run, you're going to be clipped in. So it's a really good way to teach runners not to run. Okay. So you say, next time you run away from me, because that's dangerous, and have a harness on him next time he goes out. May seem radical, but it tends to work. So you just let them know, hey, you can't run away from me. That is dangerous. So we're talking about safety here. I take that pretty seriously. Well, obviously you do too, but if it might not have been dangerous. But yeah, if they're running towards traffic or something, I would have a harness on them and I'd have a leash in my hand. I'd say, and then I'd watch them like a hawk. And if they started to run, I'd run after them and clip them in. It's going to be an ugly scene, but it's worth it. You got to win those battles. Since my son was around 8 months old, now almost 5, he won't let us sing along, share things, share games, or leads to the highest extreme. Okay, so in other words, he's in charge. He senses your weakness. He senses the fact that you're a pleaser parent. You just want to give in to all his demands early on, and he's just taken that and run with it. That's my guess, okay? So yeah, check out my behavior board. It's free above in the link, and also my boot camp course might be good for you. It's from 3 to 12 years old. It teaches you how to be a leader. So yeah, he's just taken the reins and taken off with it. So that's what it sounds like to me. He learned early on that he was in charge, and they can be very young and learn that. Obviously it has that in him anyway, to take charge, but then he just ran with it. Thankfully, quiet street, yeah. But I'd still, if the kid ever ran, if I said, okay, come on, and they took off on me, I would still do that, even if it's a safe street. I'll tell you why. What if they think that's an okay thing to do and you're out in a busy street somewhere? I would put a harness on that kid and then say, if you run from me, you're going to get clipped into this leash. And it's a training, it's a safety thing. Someone said to me, years ago, no one argues that anymore. I don't know why. There used to be a huge thing about putting a leash on a kid. And I said, so you'd rather than be flattened by a bus? Like, what's the other option? So they run in traffic and you don't want to put them on a leash? Are you kidding me? Like, really? Yeah, I'd much rather my kid be on a leash than be roadkill. But that's just me. That was their choice. So I guess that social embarrassment was more important to them than their kid's life. I don't know. That's what I told them anyway. I don't think they follow me anymore. I'm okay with that. Okay, I have twin 3-year-old. Oh shoot! It just scrolled ahead. Just a sec here. Okay, I might have lost it. Yeah, I can't find it. Sorry, too many questions came in and I lost it. I get dizzy if I scroll too much. So I usually, when I'm finished answering a question, I usually scroll down to the most recent one just to make sure you're still here and also so I don't get too dizzy. Okay, because when you get old, I'm in my 60s now, you lose those crystals in your ears and you get dizzy really easily. So I can't, scrolling makes me nauseous. Okay. What's your advice for my child 3 gets sent home from daycare every day, throwing chairs, etc.? So they are a Tasmanian devil. Yeah, there's no quick advice. You have to learn how to be a leader. That takes like 5 weeks to do that. Check out my boot camp course. Yeah, you got to learn how to be a leader, and that stuff just doesn't happen. When you're a leader at home, they're good everywhere. It's just the way it is. So yeah, work on your leadership skills. Because remember, we're not fixing kids, we're teaching parents. You lead, they will follow. It's just the way it is. Okay, this one's kind of confusing, but I'll bring it up anyway, because there's so many different ways I could go with this. When it comes to chores outside of consequence chores, is it better to have a chart where they can pick the chores or parent assigns them? You assign them. Or just dynamically tell them to do chores? No. You have chores. Like my kids from the age of 3 had 3 daily chores. One was put their laundry away, but you have to make it easy for them. Like their chores took them under 2 minutes. They had to make the bed, which meant just pulling up a duvet. Then they had to put away their laundry. I did laundry every day, so it was one outfit. I had an empty hanger, empty holes where the rolled up socks, rolled up undies, and I rolled stuff up for them too. So, and then also they had to put their toys away. I did a toy rotation system. They had 5 toys and 1 empty shelf. Under 2 minutes, they did all their chores. So make it doable. Then they just get in the routine of doing chores and contributing to the household, okay? So yeah, you lay it out for them. Don't let them pick it. You lay it out for them. And you can follow chore chart on the behavior board. That can be one of the weeks, one of the behavior boards. You only do 3 of them, 1 per week, three behavior boards. You can follow chore chart and have a very specific chore chart written down below. I was mentioning earlier, I saw my son today for lunch. I haven't seen my son, I don't think, since January 2nd. The reason is that he is a father now, and whenever I go to see them, I don't see anything but the baby. I don't even look at anyone else now. All I do is zero in on the baby. So it was just my son and I for lunch. I actually saw, I barely recognized the guy because it just been grandmother, right? Focusing in on the granddaughter. But it just struck me as funny that I never look at him anymore because I'm always looking at the baby. Okay, my 14-year-old will carry on with verbal aggressive behavior for over an hour when he is told no. Okay, think about it this way. Have you ever seen a monkey who's angry or upset? They throw their feces. That's all he's doing. He's mad. He's just trying to go like this, throw his feces at you. Don't bite. Don't get involved in that. So you've already said no. Just follow through. And if he keeps at you, just say whatever. Yeah, just let it go. Let it go. Allow him to express his anger. He's only doing that because you're not a leader. Once you get your leadership cemented, they don't talk like that. They just never do. They would never be rude to a leader. They just don't, because they look up to you. You make them feel good about themselves. They like being around you. They like trying to please you. So yeah, they certainly don't want to disappoint you when they're teenagers. That's sort of what you're aiming for. When they're younger, between the ages of 3 and 12, that's when you're at the height of your leadership, and they do want to please you. Teenagers, more you want them to want to please themselves, be their own leaders. So you're just there for the big stuff, and they don't want to disappoint you because they still look up to you. You're still sort of like their mentor, their safe place to land. They'll tell you everything when you get good at this. Well, I don't discuss grandparenting, but I'll just tell you, when your 4-year-old refuses to do his consequence, then what? It's on the behavior board. It explains. There's 2 consequences for kids. The first one's a positive action. If they won't do it, then you do the negative deprivation. Something like 24-hour media blackout. If they won't do something, you take something away. It's their choice. Is it normal for some 2-year-olds to only say a handful of words? I knew someone years ago who didn't talk or walk till she was 3 years old. Then her mother was very funny. She said she got up, ran, and never shut up after that. So yeah, she knew how to do all that. She just chose not to. So yeah, I don't know. If you're really concerned, you got to go to a pediatrician. They talk about milestones, but they're just general, like they just throw it out there as general ideas. Like it doesn't mean that they have to at 12 months be doing this, 13 months be doing that. They sort of don't worry too much about that, but use it as a general idea. But yeah, it's quite common for kids not to talk much at 2, and even at 3, a lot of them don't talk a lot. But if you're concerned, go to a pediatrician. I'm not a pediatrician, so. Advice for 8-year-old boy who loses the plot at dentist doctor appointments causes him huge stress and anxiety. Can't help you with that because I don't know why. Where'd that come from? I'd need to assess that situation, and you probably don't need coaching just for that. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. Could be a million different reasons for that. Maybe not a million. It could be a few different reasons for that. So I would have to assess that situation, and that's kind of not on a live. That's more coaching. But you don't need probably 5 sessions just for that one problem. So yeah, sorry. Don't know what I would suggest with that. Okay. So I'm going to scroll ahead just to make sure that you're still here when I answer your question. I find it so hard not to be triggered. How do I become the leader? I feel, okay. I just finished with a client session. She's doing great. I was just so impressed with her. What she's doing so beautifully is when her kids get angry, when she lays down the law, she has a rule. Now they're doing the consequence, and they get start to say not nice things. And she just goes like this, okay, 10 more minutes, because they got 15 minutes to do their chore, right? Okay, 5 more minutes, and they're doing it. It's working. So she just removes emotion. Just become a timekeeper. And also, if they do get rude, just go, whatever. Don't get pulled into that. Think of it this way. It's like a monkey throwing feces. They're just trying to get back at you. It doesn't make any sense, okay? Don't get pulled into that. That is going to hold you back, allowing yourself to get triggered. You do have, I can't help you if you can't control that. Like what I mean is you have to learn how to control that. I can't help you control that. That's on you. You're an adult. You have to learn how to control that. So yeah, if you're always getting triggered, it's never going to get any better. They're always going to be in charge. If you're triggered, they're in charge, and they know it. Advice for kids from divorced homes that like to make comparisons to the other parent to antagonize. Yeah, that means they don't respect you. There again, that's another situation that's just about your leadership. When you're a leader, they just don't talk to you like that. They wouldn't want to hurt your feelings. When you're a leader, they just don't. So yeah, work on your leadership skills, and they wouldn't talk to you like that. Attitude is all based, a bad attitude is a tell. It means that they don't respect you. It means that you're not a leader. So you got to work for that. You got to earn that. Okay, check out the link above. It's got my bootcamp course in there, coaching, or the free behavior board. Also, I was divorced, and the kids were 9 and 14, but we were always on the same page. So what I mean by that is there was no point comparing. Like what I mean is we were on the same page. So yeah, we never argued or anything. So the kids pick up on you're not getting along with your ex. Do your best to get along with them. You chose to have kids with that person. Take the high road. Even if the other person's taking the low road, they're less likely to do that if you guys get along. And they don't care if you're together. They only care that you get along. We had so many people that didn't even know we'd separated because we still turned up to everything together. All the kids' events and everything. And but yeah, they don't care if you're together. They just care that you get along. If you get along, you have a lot more power than if you don't. Oh, this is cute. It's on YouTube. Jasmine, been watching your YouTube lives for a couple years. I don't even have kids yet. I'm just learning. A lot of people do that. It kind of, I think it's a good thing to do. I mean, you're seeing in a lot of ways the worst of it. So, because people are usually asking questions when they're struggling. No one says, why is everything so lovely? Everyone's sort of struggling. So it's kind of good. It's reality. But I also try and mix it with the positivity. Once you get good at this stuff, you can just relax and sail right through the teen years even. Like that's what I did. You just get respect, mutual respect. You respect your kids and they respect you. So look at the pool story. That's my best story out there. I've got another one that's just as good, but I only tell it in coaching. It's just a bit of a next level one, but it's with teenagers. And but look at the pool story, and you can look it up on. I know that I've put it on my TikTok and my Instagram, but someone else does all my stuff. But I know it's the first video on Instagram and TikTok, and it's called "Example of Leadership Parenting," and it's the pool story. It summarizes perfectly what I see parenting should be like. It's like you address bad behavior, then you focus on the good kid. You want to connect with them. You want to have fun with them. You want them to like themselves when they're with you, or else they're just going to keep being rotten. If they're rotten now and you keep talking about them being rotten, they're always going to be rotten. Where you put your energy, where you put your focus is what grows. If you're always focusing and putting your energy on their bad behavior, it will get worse and worse and worse. It will become their identity. You always want to separate the bad behavior from the good kid, okay? Oh, you're asking about your ex's behavior when they're bad-mouthing someone, you and that. You can't control someone else and you can't fix it. So just say, oh, well, that's okay. Like if the kids comment on that, say, oh, well, don't even get into that, okay? Yeah, you can only control yourself. Don't worry about what your ex is doing. You can only control yourself. So, yeah. It's a good question. My husband and I get along. So you're separated, I'm assuming, but have different parenting style. That's okay. I'll tell you why. If you're the leader, just keep doing what you're doing. It's better if you can have the same behavior boards at different houses, but it usually doesn't happen because I deal with a lot of people who are divorced and they rarely use the same behavior boards. Anyway, they just don't want to because there's a lot of antagonism a lot of the time. Anyway, so you set yourself up as the leader. Now, children are drawn to a leader. They like themselves best when they're with the leader. The leader brings out the best in them. They have pride, high self-esteem, and they like themselves when they're with the leader. They tend to become that identity everywhere else because that's when they are at their best. So no matter where they go, who they're with, they tend to cement into that personality that they have with the leader. So just focus on yourself. What I'm saying is they only need one leader, okay? My kids, when they were young, when we were still together, their dad was the treat master. And he would take them out for treat. And I don't do that. It's just because I figured that was his thing. And I'm a real health food nut. So anyway, and he'd take them out he'd take them out and sort of sneak a donut or whatever. They couldn't wait to get home and tell on him, Daddy, let us have a donut. So you don't have to always be the same. But you have to sort of, and I would say, Daddy, did you let them? It was kind of a game we played. There's nothing wrong with that. But when it came to anything that really meant something, he deferred to me. He'd say, well, let's check with your mom. Because I was the leader, he was the pleaser. There usually is a leader and a pleaser. If there's a leader, there's usually a pleaser. Because they only need one leader. And you don't want someone else taking over the leadership role if you've already got it figured out. Right? So yeah, and the pleaser should defer to the leader. My mom was the leader, my dad was the pleaser. I remember once, Mom, I think, realized what was going on. I was taking advantage of my dad, who was the pleaser, gave me anything I wanted. And so I remember once I asked him for something and I was really little. Daddy, can I please have that? And I knew Mom wouldn't want me to have it. So I asked behind her back and he was catching on and he says, sure, sweetie pie, you can have anything you want. Let's check with Mom first. And I went, oh, never mind, because I knew. So he deferred to her. So they only need one leader. That was a long answer, but they only need one leader. How do you deal with kids with ADHD and ODD? That's where I learned all this stuff. By the way, there is no such thing as ODD, oppositional defiant disorder. Doctors have told me they invented that to make moms feel better about themselves so they don't blame themselves for their children's bad behavior. It just means you got a feisty kid, that's all. Or that you're really not a leader at all. That's all that says. And I think that's horrible that they did that because then that absolves the parents of responsibility for their children's behavior. Yeah, you want to be in charge of your kids' behavior. You don't want to blame them. Why would you want to blame a child for how they're acting? Wouldn't you rather blame yourself and say, what am I doing wrong here? What can I do better? And I learned all this, not with my own kids. They were a piece of cake because I knew I got respect when they were tiny, sailed right through the teen years. Maintaining it's easy. Getting it is hard. It's all the kids I worked with. They were all alphabet kids. They were all ADHD, WXYZ, right? That's where I learned all this stuff. You think, check out the pool story. That explains all this. That kid had ADHHHHHD. AD, triple H, quadruple HD. Oh my gosh, he was a handful. But yeah, a pool story. That's where I learned all this, was those challenging kids, not my own kids. Okay, I got to go on to Instagram now. If you want to check out the link above, you can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. So happy parenting. I'm heading over to Instagram now. Bye now. Oof. Okay. Oh, you've been watching me before, Olivia. Okay. Just wait. I'm going to get set up on Instagram first. Come on. There we go. Okay. Olivia said, instead of telling kids to use his words, what would you do instead? For instance, sharing or pushing or hitting. Use consequences. The reason why Olivia is saying, what do you do instead of saying, use your words? I hate that saying. You know what? I'm going to wait till a few people turn up here because it's a good point. Okay, just wait. I'm just waiting for Instagram. They turn up really fast on Instagram, so it takes like 10 seconds, usually. 62. I wait till I get 100 people. Okay, there we go. I got more than 100 now. Okay, I was just talking to Olivia in YouTube here, and she said, what do you use instead of saying, use your words when a kid's upset or angry? Because I hate that saying. Use your words. It's so patronizing. It's like, find your inner adult. They are using their words. Whatever they're saying or doing, that is them communicating to you. You've got to understand them instead of expecting them to find their inner adult. It's absolutely ludicrous. Anyway, I hate that saying. Anyway, what you do is you have consequences. Okay, if they're under the age of 3, you use consistent corrective actions. And if they're 3 and above, you use the behavior board, and there's a consequence. So the consistent corrective actions are consequences. It's like if they throw a toy, you take the toy away and you say no, and then you put it where they can see it but can't touch it for the rest of the afternoon. Something like that. So yeah, that saying, use your words, is the stupidest thing. Use your words. So could you imagine if you were having an argument with your partner and they said, use your words? Wouldn't you just want to slap them? It's like that with kids. It's a very patronizing, holier than thou saying. Can't stand it. Anyway, so what's my opinion on that? Okay. Anyway, if you're new here, my name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. And if you look at the link above, you can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course. I've still got those group coaching sessions going on Saturdays with the course, the boot camp course, or you can look into coaching and one-on-one with me. So that's done over 5 weeks. And the course is 5 weeks. It usually takes about 5 weeks to really, really understand how to be a leader. And then you still have to follow up usually after that. But you still have to do the work after that, but you kind of understand how to do it. Anyway, you can check that out. And now I'm just waiting for, what if they aren't saying anything? Use your words. What are you talking about? Why do they need to say anything? What are you talking about? I don't understand. I do not understand what you're getting at. Like, I know it's trendy to do all that mini therapy session garbage. I know it's trendy. I hate that stuff. Let's discuss all your big feelings and big emotions. When a kid's upset, that's the last thing they need. They do not need a therapy session. When a kid is screaming and crying because they didn't get their own way, use your words. Let's discuss all your big feelings and big emotions. It's absolute garbage. It drives me nuts. That's what I'm up against here. I joined last week. How do I join this weekly meeting? It'll come up in you'll get a message about that. So Tamara. Okay. Well, I hope you can join again. That's actually a really good group. Everyone's asking really good questions in that live. It's a group coaching session. And they're asking, it's something in the future I can see. I'm going to have to set something up like that. So it's going, because I can't always do one-on-one coaching. It's just so time consuming, and I can't get to everybody anymore. So I will figure it out down the road. Love how you call out BS. Well, I don't like to call it that, but I didn't say that. How on earth do you start without a traumatic first day? Well, if you look at the behavior board, you'll see that I say start slow and do it manageable. It's something like make your bed, but if they hit, you always have to put no hitting. Don't worry about the traumatic first day. Don't worry about scenes, meltdowns, fits, and tantrums. That's part of this. Your challenge is learning how to just stay calm through that stuff, because they're going to do it. They're going to remember the old you who wasn't a leader. All of a sudden, you're trying to be a leader. They're like, are you kidding me? Wait till I give you this bit of information, like blah, blah, blah. They're going to come at you. So it's part of it. You got to go, everyone wants the rainbow. You got to go through a storm to get to a rainbow, right? If you're afraid of a fit, scene, meltdown, or tantrum, they're in charge. They always will be. It's just the way it is. Remember, I always tell this story. It's a quick one, but that 8-year-old that I first worked with, and he said to me, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit, with that filthy looking face, the way he said it. And I said to him, bring it on. And he never did. He was like, ooh, she knows what she's doing. Like, he couldn't get to me. I'm like, and I was hoping he would, because that's every fit, scene, meltdown, or tantrum is my opportunity to exercise my leadership. Like, you can do whatever you want. Doesn't bother me a bit. Okay? That's their power over you, is that it upsets you. That is their power. That is them taking charge. Those fits, scenes, meltdowns, and tantrums are them being the leader. When it bothers you, they're in charge, and they know it like that. When they come up against someone who says, bring it on, they won't even bother. But they don't have history with me either. They know what, they already know you probably gave into it, so they're going to keep trying with you. They're going to get worse before they get better with you. But if I come in cold, they don't know me, and I have that body language and that tone, like, you don't scare me, they don't tend to try anything with me. Why would they? Because they just pick up on that right away. It takes a while, because you've got history of not doing that. I don't have that history. Okay, I'm scrolling ahead because I like to make sure people are still here while I answer questions. So what I do now is when I finished answering a question, I scroll to the last question I got. Anyway, I want to just stress that, we talk a lot about discipline here in these lives, because you kind of control the lives. In coaching, it's nothing like that. Coaching is all focused on your connecting and bonding with kids. The discipline is a tiny part of it. Leaders connect and bond with their children. They are like mentors. You're like a coach. You're like a sports coach that kids like. They look up to you. They want to please you. They like you. You have fun with them. That's the 99% of all this, is connecting with them, bonding with, and having fun with your kids. Parenting was the most fun I ever had in my whole life. Like, that was the most fun time my whole life, was parenting. Those are the best years of my life. I'm only 63. I may have better ones to come, but those were the most fun years of my life, was when I was raising my kids. It was fun. Okay, come to Australia and do some sessions. I've got several Australian clients right now. Yeah, because all my sessions are on Zoom, right? So yeah, I'm from Sydney and Brisbane. I was there for about 20 years. So yeah. How do you feel about homeschooling? I have no opinion on that. That's like asking me about religion, co-sleeping, breastfeeding for years. I have no opinion on that. That's personal choice. So if you like homeschooling, to me it would be a nightmare, because I hate schoolwork and all that. But if you enjoy it, then that's great. The only thing I've seen that consistently has been an issue with homeschooled children is they tend to be homeschool type children. And you know how I know that? Because when they go to high school, other kids say they can pick out a homeschooled kid right like that, which is interesting. It's the social stuff. So yeah, what I suggest you do is, because homeschooling communities can be really tight, and they tend to socialize a lot and have, get together a lot. But I would socialize my homeschooled child with other kids too, like get them out and like joining things that aren't just homeschool kids, participants. So it's the social skills that they often struggle with, because then when they are mainstream, life is mainstream. They're not going to be work schooled or whatever you call it, or home worked, or they might work from home, but one day. But you know what I'm saying? The life is sort of mainstreamed. So yeah, you want to get them out there socializing with other kids as young as possible. What do you think about telling a 3-year-old to take breaths during emotional outbursts? Why? Why would you do that? Why would you get involved in it? Yeah, I wouldn't. What's the point? I don't know point in that. What's the point? You're trying to stop it. You know what you're doing? You're interrupting their process. They've got to learn, they go into a tantrum, how to have a tantrum, and how to get themselves out of it. So what you're doing is you're intervening and stopping them from learning how to do it themselves. Are they going to be 16? You're still trying to control them? Yeah, don't micromanage that. Yeah, I wouldn't. It's one of those things that might be okay in the short term, but in the long term, you don't want to be micromanaging all that. You want them to learn how to get themselves out of it. You want them to figure it out on their own. Okay. Do you find your methods work with kids who have a history of trauma and attachment issues? I don't know what you mean by attachment issues, because that's an overused term and it's a very broad statement. But trauma, yeah, I've worked with a lot of kids with trauma. It's a little bit different. That would be more coaching. Okay, that's a specialty. That would be coaching. Kids who've been abused or traumatized or have PTSD, anxiety disorder, depression, all that stuff. That would be one-on-one coaching with me. I can't address that here. It's too big. I need history and information. Okay. And everything I do is in that one link above. All my courses and everything, my free behavior board, my courses, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, and my coaching, it's all in that one link above. By the way, there's people out there, because, I got a big following now, and there's people out there pretending to be me. They're using my videos, they're using my name, my picture, my information. Just make sure you follow that link. That's me. But yeah, if you just go searching, Googling me, you might come across someone else. So, and my website is bratbusters.com. It's not Bratbuster. It's not bratbusters.net. It's bratbusters.com. So yeah, there's a lot of fake me's out there. Nothing I can do about that. Yeah, this is it's a fine line, and I don't quite know exactly what you're referring to, but I get the gist. We're trying to address behavior, then build connection. What happens when they enjoy it so much they act out to get the connection? Well, you don't always connect right after they've acted out. Like, okay, I don't really want to go into that because there's so many different directions I can go into. So I don't, you know what I mean? Like, there's just too many scenarios for that one. But yeah, the building the connection, make sure that the connection isn't greater than the consequence. Like when they have, good example of this is one parent said, well, my kid kept acting out. He wouldn't do the first consequence, so he got 24-hour media blackout because he knew we'd be playing with him for the whole time. No, you try and connect with them. Just play one game and then say that's it. You're not juggling for them. You're not entertaining them through the whole 24-hour media blackout. Just snippets of it. You don't have to do it the whole time. And also, when you're going to play with a kid, like a game or something, say, okay, we're going to play for 30 minutes so that they have an expectation of when it's going to end. Then when the alarm goes off, they're less likely to get upset because they understand, well, that was something that was set up ahead of time. They already knew that it was only going to be 30 minutes. So be predictable. I was 100% predictable. I was very specific about, hey, we're going to play a game now. I've only got 15 minutes or whatever it was, with any kids I was ever working with. I always set up the expectations so they never had a fit when I stopped. I said, okay, alarm's gone. Okay, so now it's over. And they went, oh, okay, thanks for that. So get organized. Be predictable. How do you deal with a 4-year-old who delays bedtime? You don't allow him to control bedtime. I have a whole bedtime battles course. It's how to get them in bed, then how to keep them there. Yeah, he's in control, that's all. You're letting him do that, for sure. Yeah, I don't know how on earth a 4-year-old would delay bedtime. Yeah, you're the adult, yeah. I don't feel well, I'm thirsty. Oh, well, off to bed you go. Yeah. If they're truly sick, that's different, but usually they're not. Okay. Okay. I'm not a doctor, but I'm gonna sort of address this, and I'll tell you why. A child born addicted, but 10 months removed. Okay. Now 4. Is his brain wired differently? Now, I used to work with NAS babies, and they were narcotic addiction syndrome babies, and they're the ones that they tweak a lot, like they're just jittery. And I had to hold them on the right side, away from my heartbeat. I had to hold them away from my body. I couldn't look at them. I couldn't talk to them. I couldn't breathe through my nose because I had to have a mask on back before we wore masks, because they couldn't feel my breath. They could handle no stimulation whatsoever, and I couldn't move. They're very twitchy. As they get old, and I was asking the nurses, I said, so what happens down the road with these kids? And they said the one consistent thing that seems to be a concern is their lack of impulse control. So they don't tend to be great at thinking before they act. That's what I've heard. And I've worked with a lot of kids who were born addicted. And since then, that was like 40 years ago, I did that when I was in my early 20s. And but now, through coaching, I've worked with tons of kids who were born addicted, and I would say that's a pretty common theme. It's a lack of impulse control. So we have to come up with some creative ideas to teach them how to stop and think before they act. It's like a pause. Say, okay, before you do that next time, use that elastic on your wrist or something. Just hit it. You have to pull it 10 times or something while you're thinking. We just have to have a cue or a pause, something that triggers them to stop and think before they act. It can be tricky. When guests are over, 7-year-old constantly tells them to do something with them. Oh, okay. So in other words, you're not a leader. Yeah, the 7-year-old's in charge. 7-year-old's the boss. That has nothing to do with the 7-year-old. That's a learned behavior. They must do it with you. They've learned it somewhere. They have, guaranteed. They've learned that. They got away with it in the past for sure. I would have said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "Leave that adult alone. There's no way my kids would have done that." Work on your leadership skills. That's all that is. Check out my boot camp course. That might be a good fit for you. But yeah, that kid's in charge and knows it. Like, just play with me. Yeah, like, no one wants to be bothered like that. So. Oh, just got a panic attack. Okay, I'm always worried about being late for the next live because I do 3 of them. I do Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and I'm usually late by 1 minute usually. Anyway, I hate being late for anything. So I always say if you're not early, you're late. But this time I have to be right on the nose, sort of thing. Okay. Okay. Well, how do I get my 2-year-old to understand, even though he doesn't see mommy, I'm still here? My son has serious separation anxiety. Uh, is that separation anxiety or just, I don't know. I don't know what you want from me, like with that one. Do you want to sing throughout the house so they know you're there? Like, they will learn to go without you. They will survive without you. If they have a conniption fit every time you leave the room and you keep coming back in, that causes separation anxiety. You've trained them to do that. Whereas if I left the room, my kids had a conniption fit, I wouldn't go running back right away. Certainly not with a 2-year-old. I wouldn't go running back right away. So yeah, it's kind of it's more something that they start they start having a fit when you leave the room, just so that you'll come back. See what I mean? So is it separation anxiety or just control, getting their own way? I'm challenging that one. How to encourage kids to dress independently and handle transitions. Well, I don't know how old they are, but yeah, if they're physically able to get dressed, then I would just say, okay, we're going there, and then make it happen. So whatever you say, make it happen. Don't say it again. I never repeat myself. Okay, we're going to be leaving in 5 minutes. 5 minutes from now, I say, okay, let's go. If they're not sort of going at that point, I go and pick them up and carry them out, kicking and screaming if necessary. So that's why I never had to repeat myself with my kids, because they knew I was going to take action. So yeah, the transitions, and then when they do have a fit during transitions, that's okay. They'll learn. Yeah. You look younger in live than in your videos. You know why? Because my videos are done on YouTube, and that is my webcam on my laptop, which is horrible. The lighting is disgusting. But I kind of think being old and ugly is an advantage in my profession. So, because I've been told I look better in person than I do on these lives too. So yeah, I think being old and ugly kind of is to my advantage in my profession. Would you listen to someone young and gorgeous about parenting? No, I'm a grandmother, and yeah. So I do have a better camera I could use for my YouTube. Oh, it's my webcam thing, and it's horrible. I do have a better camera I could use, but I choose to leave it like that. Isn't that weird? I don't care how I look on here. You're not here because of how I look. You're here because you want the information, right? You want my experience. Yeah, I'm just saying, I don't think I'm ugly, but it's certainly not my best. None of this is my best. I'm okay with that. I never understand filters. Do you know why? What if someone sees you in person? I'd rather in person people go, oh, you're so much better looking in person. Wouldn't it be awful if someone came up and said, oh, you're so ugly in person? Why on earth would anyone use a filter? To me, that's all that, phoniness and the pretentiousness and all. I don't like filters. Like, this is me. Take it or leave it. Who cares? Sorry, I was reading a question, but I don't understand it, so I can't answer it. Nap is only 2 hours? Was that a okay, 18-month-old. My kids both stopped napping at 12 months old. They don't all need naps. My kids were the only kids at 3 years old when they went to kindy, they didn't nap once, not ever. They just didn't. They would just lay there in the dark, and they were so good that the teacher felt sorry for them because they were so polite. They just lay there in the dark with their eyes open, never fell asleep once because they were 3 and they hadn't napped for 2 years. So they just weren't nappers. Yeah. Yeah, maybe they just don't need a nap. And you say nap is only 2 hours? That's a long time. I would cut it down to an hour. Yeah, the teacher felt so bad for my kids just because they were so nice. They would just lay there in the dark with their eyes open. So she ended up giving them a little night light and they could sit and read a book when all the other kids were asleep. Once the other kids fell asleep, she'd turn on the light for my kids and they would just quietly read a book. Oh, you asked me about eczema, medical. I'm not a doctor. I'm a parenting coach. I teach parent-child relationships. Yeah. Okay, my 10-year-old is very manipulative of his 4-year-old sister. How do I address this? Okay, I would put down on the behavior board, no being mean to your little sister. And then you write in brackets, I will decide when that has happened. So in other words, they can't argue it. But don't overdo it. Just decide when that's happened and say, here's the consequence. She gets to play with your favorite toy for whatever, 20 minutes, and I will play with her with it, and you can't join in. So, yeah. What was the outcome of your children? Profession, yeah, I don't discuss my adult children. I just had lunch with my son today. He's doing very well. He's got a little baby, and they've both been with their partners for 10 years. And my daughter's doing very well also. I don't discuss my adult children because they don't choose to be on here. And yeah, I'm very protective of their privacy. I do talk about the fact I have a granddaughter, but I'll never show her picture on here. Like I don't post on social media anymore. Just because I've got a big following now and there's, creepy people out there, right? So yeah, I just keep that private. Yeah, they're great. Wonderful. It's funny, I was just saying earlier on one of my other lives, I said I hadn't seen my son since January 2nd. He lives a 40-minute drive away. I've been in his presence, but he has a little baby now. So every time I'm around him, all I'm doing is looking at the baby. So it's like I literally haven't even looked at him since he had a daughter. And but today it just was the two of us for lunch. So I thought, oh, that's what you look like. Just not the baby and I, but my son and I. So yeah, I haven't looked at him since the baby was born because it's all about the baby. Oh, grandma's here. And I told him today, I said, you don't know how lucky you are. His girlfriend has just melted into mothering beautifully. She's a wonderful mother. She didn't have any postpartum or anything because that can be really difficult on both people, the father and the mother, right? So I said, I just reminded him, he already does appreciate her. She's wonderful with the baby. And he is too, but she's the one with the baby all the time. But yeah, she's a wonderful mom. Which is nice as a grandmother too, because, I never have to worry about anything. She's very well taken care of baby. So that's all I'll talk about with my kids. Okay. Oh, if someone gives you unsolicited advice and you're out in public somewhere, just say this. Say, I'm doing the best I can. It just makes me feel bad when people criticize me or something like that. Say, I'm doing the best I can. Don't get defensive. Just say, I'm doing the best I can. Just look, try and make them feel bad for making you feel bad. Do your children follow your same parenting advice? Well, my son just has a new baby, and that's the only grandchild I have. And it's none of my business how they parent, but they both said throughout the years, especially when they were younger, and we used to talk about it more, they both said they're going to try and parent the way I did. But they're going to have their own style. I don't want them to be carbon copies. I have a feeling my son will be the pleaser, but luckily his girlfriend will be the leader. They only need one leader. I have a feeling my son I just get this feeling that he's going to give in to his little girl a lot. But the mom, I think she has it figured out, I think. So, yeah. And they've said that. They already identified that. But it's none of my business how they parent. I'll never tell them. None of my business. I don't tell my kids what to do. I'll just sit back and watch the show. They might do a better job than I did. I don't know. And I don't think I was perfect. I think I did a pretty good job. We had a good relationship. And they turned out pretty good. Someone said, how'd your kids turn out? And I said, well, they're not in jail. And they're not, so I said, if they're not in jail, they turned out pretty good. So they're a little bit above that, but. Okay, this one, I could go a couple different directions with this one. Almost 4-year-old gets very frustrated and screams when he can't finish a task on his own. Okay, they get mad when they can't do something right. That's that perfectionism. That's a sign of low self-esteem. It means they're hard on themselves when they fail at something. I would say, yeah, I can't do a lot of stuff too. Just don't make a big deal out of being successful or winning at everything. Just say, good try, buddy. Like fuss more over trying and effort. Rather than winning. Oh, you won. Yay, you won. My mom never focused on winning. Whenever we played games, she used to say, it doesn't matter who wins. It just matters who plays well, who tries the hardest, right? So it's not about winning. It's about playing, how you play the game. So it's more about trying. What's that? There's so many sayings around that. I love that. The road to success is paved with failures. If you're not failing, you're not learning. Because I'm always trying to fail at something every single day because that's when you're learning. I try and in other words, push yourself. And there's no shame in failing. That means you're actually trying to grow and learn. So yeah, just try. I'm suggesting your child may also turn into a poor sport with that attitude because they feel like a loser if they lose, right? It's kind of like that. It could lead to poor sportsmanship. It's the same kind of thing. What do I do when I cannot parent my 7-year-old son? Okay, check out my boot camp course. That's all about you and your leadership. It's not about the kids. It's about you. Set yourself up as a leader and the kids will respect you. It's for parents of kids 3 to 12 years old. That's when you're at the height of your leadership skills. They will want to please you. You've got the most power as a leader between 3 and 12. Toddlers are nuts anyway. But 3 to 12 years old, you're at the height of your leadership. All their behaviors, 100% a direct result of your parenting. When they get in the teen years, they are more influenced by other people, and you want that. You want them to start spreading their wings and trying stuff. They're going to mess up a bit. If my kids had done something stupid and it wasn't a big deal, I'd just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? Like, laugh it off. It's no big deal. We all make mistakes. We all did make mistakes when we were teenagers, and we continue to make them. There's no shame in making mistakes. But yeah. So check out the boot camp course. It's all about you and your leadership. Okay, do you adjust your parenting depending on your child's personality? All my rules were the same, but there was one very distinct difference between my two kids. I'll give you an example. My son, he's 34, and not long ago, he said to me, to this day, if I go towards a pantry, I'm like this, shaking before I open it. Because often there was mother in the pantry like this. I was always scaring him. So he was joking, but he said, I still shake when I go to open up a pantry. Yeah, because I was often hiding in there. I would hide for like an hour or more, just waiting. I was very patient with that. But I would never do that with my daughter. She didn't like it. So I never did that with her. And also I would hide under my son's bed when he walked by. He didn't know I was there, of course. And when he walked by, I'd grab his ankle. So yeah, he loved all that stuff like I do, but she hated it. So I never did it with her. Yeah, they are different. So that's what I did different. I had the same expectations of, be good people, be polite, be respectful. I had all that for the same, but when it came to just stuff like that, yeah. And as horrible of a tease as I am, which I am a horrible, awful tease, but only with my son, I never teased about matters of the heart. If they had a crush, never, ever, ever, ever tease about a crush. That is matters of the heart. Guaranteed they'll shut down and never talk to you about girlfriends and boyfriends when they're teenagers if you tease them about crushes. Never do that. I think that's mean. That's matters of the heart. It means something to them. Anyway, I'm moving over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. If not, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. So I'm going over to TikTok now, and I'm on YouTube the whole time. So thanks for joining me. Happy parenting.
personality.
TikTok starts up with ads now. It didn't used to do that. Okay. Just taking a little break for a second. My throat gets kind of sore. Okay. Sorry, we're getting a bit hot. Sun's coming in, so. It's actually turning into spring. We had one here in Vancouver, Canada, where I live. We had one, I think it was last year, maybe the year before. We had no spring at all, winter and then summer. It was like one day we were wearing a big, huge puffer coat and a beanie, and the next day you're wearing shorts. It was really weird. We had no spring. It's bizarre. We usually get, 4 seasons here. And I lived in Australia for 20 years. And you get like basically summer, fall, summer, fall, like it's warm or spring, whatever. But yeah, you never get cold there. My kids, when we first moved to Canada from Australia, my kids are born in Australia and raised there. And when they first saw frost here in Canada, they went out to play in the snow. They'd never seen frost. They thought it was snow. I got pictures of it. Anyway. Okay, so welcome to my TikTok. If you're new here, my name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. I do these lives pretty much every day for a couple of years now on TikTok. And I'm also on YouTube the whole time. And I go from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok while I'm on YouTube. And anyway, so check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course. Yes, I still have those group coaching sessions live every Saturday afternoon. So it's me answering questions just within that boot camp course. That's still on offer. And then, look up coaching. The boot camp course is 3 to 12 years old. If you want coaching and you got a 3 to 12-year-old, I'll always try and throw you into that course. It'll save you some money. And if it's just all the normal stuff that you're dealing with, if it's something bigger like trauma, or you just really want the one-on-one, that's coaching. But yeah, that boot camp course, I built that off of my coaching. So it's pretty inclusive if you're just dealing with all the normal stuff. Kids being disrespectful, snotty, and all that stuff. Okay, so I'm just waiting for your questions. Okay, how to manage a 3-year-old that's in an ignoring phase, acting out because of new baby. Well, they're kind of two different things, ignoring and acting out. Anyway, they're just being disrespectful because of a new baby. It's kind of a transition phase. It's something you're just going to have to wait out, basically. Because when you get a new baby, they are extremely demanding. So yeah, I can't really help you with that. That just takes a little bit of time. It's a transition, right? Yeah, just stay strong. Check out the behavior board. If there are any specific behaviors you want to deal with, check out the behavior board and you can put those on the board. Yeah, thanks for your support on these lives. I do enjoy doing them. Because I know that it's helping people. I get told all the time that these lives are actually helping people with parenting. So that's why I do them. And I wouldn't be doing them if I wasn't helping anyone. What would be the point? Yeah, I really enjoy doing them. These are relaxing for me. My favorite thing to do is coaching because you get to know the parents. My second favorite thing is the group coaching sessions now because I sort of get, not as much, it's not as intense, but I still get to know, there might be 20, 30 people in the room. And then I get to know in the Zoom and I get to know them sort of. And then my third favorite thing is this, because all 3 of them, I'm talking to parents. I love talking to parents. I feel like I'm mothering you guys all the time because I'm old. You're all probably my kids' age, right? So yeah, and I love mothering. So, and I don't have any kids anymore. They're all grown up. So. Okay, how do I stop my 17-month-old from throwing food on the ground during meals? That's actually quite an easy one, but they probably will have a scene, just preparing you. Most of these things do cause a scene, but they'll eventually learn, okay? So you can never avoid a scene. Everyone wants to, how do we correct the behavior without having a scene? I don't know. You're going to have to go through a scene. You got to go through the storm to get to the rainbow, right? So how do you stop a 17-month-old from throwing food on the floor? What you do is if they do it all the time, give them a little bit of food. So when they throw it on the floor, you say no. You pick it up, throw it in the garbage, and really quickly, so they connect it all, you hand feed them. You do not let them touch food again. You hand feed. They're going to go, no, no, no. Say, okay, y'all done. Wipe them up, put them down. Meal's over. Half hour later, give it another go. And then eventually they'll learn that if they throw food on the floor, you're going to hand feed them. And then they got two choices. They can either not throw food on the floor and feed themselves, or you're going to hand feed them. And they'll eventually eat. One of those two ways, they will eventually eat if they're hungry enough. Yeah, it's a pretty quick one to fix usually. Any tips for a 15-year-old girl who fakes illnesses, emergency for attention? It's a pattern. You got to hire me for that one. Yeah, that's not I can't answer that on here. I need to know the history. I need to figure out why she's doing it. For attention, why does she need that? Why does she need attention for that? What's missing? What's going on? So yeah, you'd have to hire me for that one. Check out my coaching if you want to hire me, but check out the coaching first. Don't just send me an email. Say, look at the coaching, and then decide if you want to sign up for coaching, then send me an email. And I can't take everyone on. This week I've taken on a few new clients because I just finished with a bunch of clients. So anyway. What about hitting 14-month-old hits and then laughs? It's not a laugh, it's a test. Ha, 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 ha. Like, how is that? Ha, ha. They know they shouldn't be doing that. Just say no when you hold their hand so they can't hit again. Then kind of ignore and just walk away and do, like, you don't walk away like you're angry. You just go about your business. When they go to hit again, grab them before they hit. And you say no. And then you just hold them for a second, but then you just sort of walk away. Then you can use, they're still kind of a baby at that age, so you can use diversion. But you don't divert with, and they hit, and then you give them a lollipop. It's not that like that. If they keep hitting and you can't stop that hitting, start reading your favorite book out loud all to yourself on the ground, and they'll eventually climb into your lap. That's the idea. So you're using diversion, but it's indirect redirection. Direct redirection is, here's a lollipop. So in other words, if I hit, I get a lollipop. You don't want them to, to connect the dots there. Because they're still a baby till they're about 16 months old. That's the way I do it. A baby is 0 to 15 months. Toddler is 16 to 35 months. And then a child is 3 to 8. A tween is 9 to 12. Teenager 13 plus. That's the way I do it. I don't know if that's right. It's just the way I do it. So I never talk about tantrums because I think most people are regulars on here. What about tantrums at 18 months old when told no? So in other words, what do you do with a tantrum? You completely ignore it. Unless they're hurting themselves, hurting someone else, or damaging property, then you can physically restrain them. You still ignore them. Now, when you ignore in a very specific way. You want to make sure that you're nearby and you look like you're just filing your nails waiting. Do not go on a phone. I think that's rude and dismissive. You want to look like you're waiting for a bus. So when they're having a tantrum, they're in the crazy zone. A tantrum is not really emotions. It's a loss of emotional control at not getting their own way. You do not need to validate that. That needs to be ignored. That's the crazy zone. You ignore the crazy, okay? So you're filing your nails, filing your nails. As soon as they finished having a tantrum, you go, oh, you all done? You want to go read a book? You ignore the crazy, reward the calm. Attention is reward. If you give them any attention, eye contact, or anything during a tantrum, you're actually fertilizing it. You're making it grow. But yeah, this method of ignoring a tantrum, it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. It's not going to work overnight, especially a young one like that. Might take a couple of years before they're finished having tantrums, but they should diminish in duration, frequency, and intensity with this method. Because tantrums, if they're not working, they tend to not do them. But they're going to keep trying when they're little. They're going to lose that emotional control, right? But they're going to lessen and lessen in intensity. If you interrupt a tantrum by hugging, talking to them, doing those mini therapy sessions, which are a bunch of crap, but anyway, if you do any of that, you're actually stopping them from learning how to get themselves out of a tantrum. You're interrupting the brain waves. Their brain waves need to learn to get themselves out of it. And the only way they do is when they're getting no attention. Tantrums are made for attention. That's what they're after. They want attention. You rarely see a child having a tantrum all by themselves, all alone in the room. It's all done to get your attention. So if they don't get it, it's not working. If it's not working, they will eventually stop having them. That's the way it works. I don't get a lot of attacking anymore. I love it when people attack me for that because I love talking about this stuff. I love explaining why this is so important to ignore tantrums. What a lot of people used to say to me when I first came on TikTok here especially was, oh, you should never ignore their feelings. That's abuse and all that garbage. Anyway, if you are damaging a child by ignoring a tantrum, okay, which is a loss of emotional control at not getting what they want. If you are damaging a child by ignoring that, you got bigger fish to fry. You're missing something else. Something else is not right in that relationship. That, you know, if a child is loved and they feel safe with you, you can quite healthily ignore that tantrum. But yeah, if you're damaging your child by ignoring a tantrum, you got a lot more things to worry about than just that. A lot of my clients are child psychologists, and because they struggle too with parenting. I couldn't do their job, but they struggle with parenting. It's a different thing. So, and they'll argue with this. There's two things they argue with me about. One is that I always say you should never discuss a tantrum before, during, or after. They'll argue with me on that one. I think we both think we win, but I'm pretty sure I win. And I always say, what's the point? Can you explain to me why you think that's necessary? And then they will, and they'll say, no, I need an actual reason. Like, there's no reason to discuss a tantrum in my head. There's no reason to discuss it before, during, or after. In other words, let's focus on that rotten, awful scene you just had. I don't put my focus on things I don't want to see again. I don't. So, you want to know what else they argue with me about? There's two things. They all do. All child psychologists who hire me argue about these two things, if it's appropriate in our sessions. The other one is praise does not get good behavior. That's what I say. Praise does not get good behavior at all. And they'll argue that one too. I'm pretty sure I win that one. Anyway, yeah. Play does. Connecting with your kids does. Praise doesn't. Kids don't care about praise. You look at let's say a 5-year-old little boy, okay, and you say to him, you're wonderful, you're smart, you can do anything you want. I love you, you're just so special, good looking and everything. And then you say, I'm gonna go do the dishes now. And you walk away. This is the kid's face. Now you say to that same kid, what are you doing there? Can I play too? Look at his face. Their love language is play. What gets good behavior with kids is playing with them, within reason. You don't have to be at their beck and call 24/7. Their love language is play, not praise. Praise is overused. It's not bad, but it's kind of irrelevant. You can do it, makes you feel good. But yeah, praise is overrated. Play is underrated. Play with your kids more in their world. That's their love language. That's why that was my power. People used to say, how do you get such respect with kids? I said, I play with them. And I also control that. I don't allow them to get me to play with them all day long, but I play with them. I connect with them in their world. Yeah, you look at a kid who's got, oh, should I tell this story? I've got so many stories about coaching. No, I think I'll save that one. A lot of them I just tell in coaching. A lot of my coaching stories I tell in coaching. And parents are quite happy for me to talk about it because I never talk about their names. That's usually just uplifting stuff. And, when parents have a real turnaround or they do something really great and I just want to share it, right? So, this was really cute. This was a really cute coaching story. One of my clients had a 3-year-old little boy, and they also had like a 15-month-old little girl. And you have to be 3 years old to be on the behavior board. So he used to hit. So they put no hitting as his rule on the behavior board, the 3-year-old. So his little sister, after about a week or two of this, his little sister hit him. He normally would have hit her back. He didn't hit her. He held her hand. He walked her over to the behavior board and said, see, no hitting. Is that the cutest thing? He was using the behavior board with his 15-month-old sister. The good news about that is he didn't hit her. Like he just controlled himself because he felt, it was just so cute. Is that adorable? See, no hitting. Kids are cute. Oh, you're asking me about nanny. Yeah, I don't teach nannying. That's business stuff. I don't teach that. I only teach parenting. All my work goes out the window over the weekend when I'm not working. Yeah, that's the mixed message. If you're not consistent, nothing's going to work. Nothing. It's like dieting. You can't diet 5 days a week and then 2 days just go all hog out all weekend, right? It's like that. It's got to be consistent. What did I say? I equated dieting with parenting with a client, and I said something so stupid. I couldn't believe it. But it was such a good analogy, but it was it's so dumb. I can't remember what it was exactly now. But anyway. Yeah, you got to be consistent. And also, I also do say, this is a different sort of story, but if you're going to take advice about parenting, Just follow one person at a time. Like just follow me, or if you don't like me, follow someone else. But you got to pick a path and go with it. If you were to go and pick and choose different advice from different parenting experts, it's not going to work. It's like dieting. It's a whole, like a structure. It's meant to be used. It's like a program, a system. My system, if you were to throw time out into my leadership stuff, it would tank. I hate time out. I think it's mean. It's humiliating. I hate it. I would never use it. So you can't pick and choose different methods from different people. You have to pick a path and go with it. I'd say give it 3 to 5 weeks. If it doesn't work, say she's an idiot and go to someone else. But yeah, it's like dieting. You can't pick and choose what you like from different diets and expect to lose weight, right? So it's like that. You have to pick a path. How do I manage when we have a split home? Kids only need one leader. It's best if you can get on the same page. If you can both have consistent behavior boards, that's the best. Your parent rules might be different. But yeah, that's best. But most parents don't. Most exes are not that communicable. They don't want to work together. It was because I deal with a lot of people who are separated and divorced. So yeah, they only need one leader. So you just work on yourself because you can't change anybody else anyway. You can't control your ex, or you just control yourself. So work on your own leadership. They will become, by the age of about 4, they're pretty cemented under your leadership. They'll carry your leadership umbrella everywhere. So if they respect you and they end up respecting themselves, then they tend to treat everyone like that. It's just the way it is. So they will be more influenced by the leader anyway. So no matter what the other person's doing, they're going to be more influenced by the leader. My son sent me something interesting. I don't look at other parenting stuff, but he sent me this cute little meme thing, and it was this kid. It was like a what do they call, the ring camera, whatever, inside the house that caught this. And the grandma was coming over to babysit, and he said little boy was yelling out from the other room, "I don't want grandma to babysit." He didn't know she was there initially, and he says, "I don't want grandma to babysit because she has no structure. She doesn't have a bedtime for me." He didn't like it. Kids like a leader. They like to know what's coming. They like routines. They like structure. Anyway, it was just hilarious. So this kid was actually telling the grandma she wasn't a good enough leader. I thought that was hilarious. They do like this. They're very drawn to leaders. It makes them feel safe. It makes them feel good about themselves. If you're not a leader at home for your kids, you're going to send them out in the world very vulnerable, very susceptible to peer pressure, the drug dealer around the corner, bullies, the internet, the Kardashians. You get the idea. They're going to go searching for a leader elsewhere. They're going to be very vulnerable out in the world. If you're a leader at home, they're not vulnerable at all. Like my kids never had curfews or anything. I trusted them 100% because I knew I was a leader and I knew they told me everything. When I said my kids never had a teenage curfew, they didn't, but it doesn't mean they were out all night. I just didn't have a set curfew. I worked it. Every night they went out, we'd work it. Lowers anxiety. I don't know what you're referring to, but having a leader lowers anxiety. Children who have leaders tend to have less anxiety, less stress, less tantrums. It calms them down. They feel safe. You feel safe with a leader. Let's say you're in a situation where no one knows what to do, but someone comes in and says, "I know the way out. Let's go this way." Doesn't it make it, you go, "Oh, finally." Kids are like that. They go, "Oh, finally." The more difficult the kid that I used to work with hundreds of kids, the more difficult the kid, the quicker they were for me to get their respect, to turn them around. The reason is, when a really difficult child comes up against a calm leader, it's almost like they go like this. "Oh, finally. Whew, I don't have to act out anymore. Someone knows what they're doing." They needed that. That's why they're acting out. It's like they're screaming for help. They're screaming for leadership. The more a kid's acting out, the more they need a leader, and they're screaming for it, literally often. So I'm just going to look down at YouTube. Someone said I look a lot better on the phone than I do on the webcam, which is my YouTube. And I said to them, being old and ugly is an advantage in my job because I'm like a grandmotherly type. So that's why I could easily filter that, but I choose not to. The worse I look, the better it is for my business. Also, I also said that I would rather people see me out in public and say, "Oh, you look way better in public." Because if you use filters, what do you do when you go out in public? They go, "Ugh." Like, I would never use a filter. Okay. Halfway through your course, love it. So simple and straightforward. Very much appreciated. Excellent, Laura. Are you tuning up to the live on Saturday? You'll get the link tomorrow for that, for the coaching call. Anyway, in the boot camp course above, I have group coaching going on right now. And so good for you. I always say, when parents say, oh, thanks so much for all this, I always say, yeah, I give you the advice, but you're the ones who do the work. So pat yourselves on the back. It's a lot easier for me to give you the advice than it is for you to do it. So yeah, so good for you. If you're doing well, that's because you're putting in the work. So pat yourself on the back. You'll try. Good. Okay, Laura. Okay. They asked some really good questions in there too. Coaching is very different. One-on-one coaching is very different. There's a lot of tears in that too sometimes, depending on what they're going through. It's very, very personal. The group coaching, it's still personal. It's a little bit less, emotional, but it's still great. Like you see each other, right? You're all going through the same stuff. I'd love to join the coaching. I have 11-month-old and 26 weeks pregnant. Yeah, the coaching, you don't need my coaching yet at 11 months old, unless you really, really want it. But I probably wouldn't take you on right now because I'm so busy. You don't need coaching right now. And that group coaching is for the course, 3 to 12 years old. But yeah, you're just starting out here. Some people do hire me when they've got really little ones because they want to know what's coming. But yeah. It's just I'm really busy right now. I have to take on people who are really in the thick of it. What to do when no does not work? Well, no, you use a consequence. That's what the behavior board's all about. Yeah, it's a consequence. So if they act out, if you said no and they act whatever. So yeah, just check out the behavior board. And I don't know what you mean by no. Are you saying no, we can't go there? Or no, you have to hand that over? Or no, there's a million different things that could be. Yeah, I was worried it might be too early. I'll keep watching and absorbing. Yeah, and also you pay attention to all these other parents on here. Parenting doesn't come naturally to most people. It used to come naturally about 100 years ago when there was a village raising children. For one thing, parents didn't expect much of themselves. The kids were all out in the streets all the time playing. We were all looking after each other. It was a different world. I was born in 1960. It was a very different world back then. And although I was adopted and my parents were older, they were like my friend's grandparents' age. And my dad was the only dad out on the street teaching all the kids how to ride their bikes. He was like a real playmate kind of dad. I had great parents. And but yeah, so it was just a different world though. And you weren't doing it alone. You had like multi-generational households. My grandmother lived right next door to us. So there was always all this wealth of information around. Now you're all isolated. Plus there's all this pressure, these gorgeous Instagram mothers, everything's just so perfect. You look up, if you want to feel good about yourself and your parenting, look up mom fails or parenting fails. Look up those videos. They're hilarious. Everyone's in the same boat. Like, parenting's messy. Life is messy. It's not about perfection. Is there a name to use for the parenting you teach? Oh no, I teach leadership parenting. Leadership. It's more like you're a leader because you lead and they will follow. You set an example. You're on that behavior board. If you break a rule, you get a consequence, right? You got to be accountable. You're showing them how you want them to act. It's not telling them what to do, it's showing them. It's leadership parenting. You want to be friends with your kids. You want to have fun with them. So yeah, I call it leadership parenting. I used to call it calm leadership parenting. You're very calm when you're disciplining, but I never had to discipline my kids because I got respect when they were tiny, and I was not calm. I was crazy. So, because I just could have fun with them. So you want to be calm during the disciplining, but crazy during the rest of the time, and just have fun with them. Just relax and have fun with your kids. You can't do that when you're not a leader. Once you're a leader, you can just relax and have fun with them. But part of it, everything I teach is based on connecting and having fun with your kids. So you start there. You'll see. Anyway, check out the behavior board. You'll see what your consequence is, and it'll kind of explain that. And also my pool story. It's the very first video on TikTok here, and it's called Example of Leadership Parenting. That explains my parenting style in a T. It's the perfect story to explain the way I look at parenting. It's called the pool. It's the pool story, but it's called Example of Leadership Parenting. I tell that story all the time, but in that one video, I hit every point in that story because I usually miss a point and I look back and I go, I missed that one point. But that one, I think I hit every point. It's a good story. The hardest part is me staying calm. Just before I started this live, I was working with a client and she's just adorable. And she is like all, she had dealing with misbehavior and all that stuff. And she's, you know what she's doing so well? She's doing so well. It's when she's disciplining and they're upset with her and mad at her, if she's timing it and says 15 minutes to do a chore, and if they're yelling at her or something, she just goes 10 more minutes. She's just the timekeeper, calm as anything, and it's working. She's just removing all emotions. When you're disciplining, remove all emotions. It's like a business transaction. You got 15 minutes to sweep the floor. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. 10 more minutes. Just waiting, stay calm as anything. So yeah, she's doing really well. I take this really personally. If I'm working with someone, I work up a sweat during coaching. My goal is to get you where I want you to be. And if you're failing, I take it personally. If you're struggling and you just can't go through with I tell story after story, I'm working up a sweat. I'm trying to get it through your head that the sooner you learn how to remove your emotions when you're disciplining, the quicker the results will be. I literally work up a sweat trying to get this across to people. Yes, it's hard. I never said it was easy. It's hard. You got to earn this. You got to work for this. But the thing is, once it starts to work, then like this mom was saying, I get it. Once you do it, it just gets easy because you see how it works. So you just got to go through the storm. It's short-term pain for long-term gain. It's worth it. Yeah, I have a hard time not being triggered. You just got to master that. Start doing it. Start faking it till you make it, and you'll see it work. And then you go, oh, I get it. This stuff works. Like if a kid is, let's say I had a kid that was coming after me, yelling at me, because I just said, okay, so the behavior board says you've got to do a chore within 15 minutes of being asked to do so. 15 minutes starts now, and then they start yelling at you. I'd be like this. Okay, 10 more minutes. They're still coming at me. 5 more minutes. Oh, time's up. Okay, you didn't do that. So now your second consequence, because you didn't do the first one, 24-hour media blackout starts now. Do you understand? That's what I say to them. They're coming at me. I'm like this. That was your choice. And then I just wander off and do my chores. You may be steaming inside, but keep that steam inside. Don't let them see it. It just works. If they can never get a rise out of you, they'll stop trying and they'll just end up respecting you. Okay, I got to go. Thanks so much for joining me. Check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. Look into coaching, decide if you want to sign up, and then send me an email and tell me how old your kids are and what challenges you have, what you want me to work on. I can't take everyone on these days. I like to mix up the ages. I am taking people on right now, but it just depends on the age because I just finished with a bunch of clients in the last week. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and we'll talk again probably tomorrow. Take care. Bye now.